The views expressed on the following broadcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. The dialogue on this show should not be considered as medical, psychiatric, or professional advice and is delivered only as personal opinions from the host, co-host, and guests. KHLT Recovery Broadcasting is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
You know, God is a solution.
If it were on the ballot, how would you vote on recreational marijuana use?
And there's millions of us today because we're sober, because somebody had the courage to tell us what we needed to do in order to get sober.
This is one of the places that is about the business of the solution.
I love it.
Meeting makers don't make it. Meeting makers make it if they eventually work the steps. But if they're real alcoholics, they will eventually get so sick and tired of sitting in these meetings listening to the crap that they will leave.
He's a big fat blowhard.
And now, here are your co-hosts, Eve D., Nathan A., and the Monty Man.
Welcome, one and all, to the Good Ship Recovery here at the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. I am not a big fat blowhard. Well, maybe I am sometimes. Definitely overly opinionated 12-stepologist, as Nathan so
Roger that.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Welcome to Open Forum on this wonderful Wednesday. And by the way, so those of you who may not know, we are now broadcasting every weekday from 11 a.m. to noon on the Bill Post Radio Network. And if you're listening on take12radio.com right now, you can go to billpost.com, and up the top right, there's a little link that says listen to live audio stream. You click that at 11 o'clock, and there's our show from 11 to noon on Bill Post. And then that replays every day at 6 p.m. and at 9 p.m. on the Bill Post Radio Network. So that's really cool. We're really excited about that. If you are listening on the Bill Post Radio Network, we request that you go to take12radio.com. There's all sorts of great stuff there, recovery-focused goodies, and other shows and archives for you to check out. So neat stuff. We're excited about that. All right. I want to give a shout-out, you guys, to Pam Hemphill. She is the host of Time to Heal with Pam at tvboise.com, tvboise.com on Sundays. You can check her out, but go to her YouTube page at Time to Heal with Pam. There's 3 episodes so far, and they're doing a great work up there in Boise, Idaho. We just want to send kudos to them, and they always say on their TV program how much they appreciate Take 12 Radio, and so we want to give that back to them as well. Check them out. They're doing some really good work there. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about an issue that was touched on a little bit on the Bill Post Radio Show here last week about the marijuana issue, and I wanted to continue this discussion with Eve and Nathan. And by the way, hi, you guys.
Hello. Hi, Monty.
And I know we're gonna get some email. We're gonna get some opinions. I've got one friend who I consider a very good friend, who's a musician, who is very pro recreational use of pot. But I want to touch on marijuana use for medical purposes and for recreational purposes, and see what you guys think about that. And we're just gonna shoot the breeze about it and kind of see where it goes. Listen, we really need your support right now, folks. If you click on the donate button at take12radio.com at the very bottom of the page, no amount's too small. We need your support. We really do. It's that time of year. We've got some major expenses coming up in the end of July to keep us on the air. So, pray about it. And if God puts it on your heart to donate, we'd sure appreciate it. There's also sponsorship opportunities for you as well. All right, so we're going to listen to our sponsors for this part of the show, and we'll be right back with, we've got trivia to do, and we've got the cartoon caption contest to give away as well. So don't go away. Hey, this is the Monty Man at Take 12 Recovery Radio. For way too long, the faith community and church leadership has had a misunderstanding of what addiction and recovery is really all about. Well, it's time we clear up some issues. Recovery Life presents Understanding Addiction and Recovery, an informational workshop focused on educating the faith community, clergy, lay people, and church leadership on the problem and solution of alcoholism and addiction. Friday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. at Oak Creek Christian Center, 5775 Columbus Street Southeast, Albany, Oregon. Gender-specific recovery life groups and support meetings for friends and families will form during the workshops. For more information, visit recoverylife.org. Recovery Life, a community outreach for the Willamette Valley in cooperation with Oak Creek Christian Center.
Men, women, and their families experience tremendous pain and suffering due to the struggles they face from substance abuse and its co-occurring mental health challenges. They need to find a safe place for peace and healing. Therapia Addiction Healing Center was born out of a deep desire to provide that safe and powerful healing environment. Therapia exists to help people recover from addictions by developing and maintaining healthy, meaningful relationships with God, self, and others. To speak with an addiction specialist, call 1-855-652-4325. That's 1-855-652-4325. Or visit our website at www.therapia.net. Therapia Addiction Healing Center, restoring lives one step at a time.
He's a little crazy, but then again, you already knew that.
I got in like 3 fights when I was in grade school. All 3 of them were with the bully. You know, we all know who they are. They're always a little bit bigger, they kind of smelly, and we duke it out. And after he beat the snot out of me, I'd say, "You come back tomorrow and I'll give you more of that."
It's the Bill Post Radio Show. Bill Post Radio Show. Weekdays at noon.
Right. Good.
Well, this is Cecil, and it's time for Take 12 Trivia.
Well, my goodness, Cecil, you sound like you're in a much better mood than last week. Last week, if you remember, Cecil was a little ticked off.
Well, I am Monty Man, and do you know why?
Well, Cecil, I can only imagine.
Now, don't get smart with me, young man. I'm serious here.
All right. Why are you in such a good mood, Cecil?
I'm really happy to see that Eve got back safely from her little excursion to Reno, Nevada. How was your trip, Eve?
It was quite warm, Cecil.
Did you win big?
Let's see. I started with 20 and ended with 27, so that's not big, but I walked away with a smile on my face.
Right.
Well, next time I'll give you some quarters so you can place those bets.
Cecil, you're in Gamblers Anonymous, so you know better than that.
Oh, just be quiet over there. Nathan, how is the big fella this week?
Big fella is doing great, Cecil.
Well, you know, Nathan, we all love you.
Oh, thank you very much.
We love you too, Cecil. All right.
Okay, let's play Take 12 Trivia.
You betcha.
Let the games begin!
Alrighty, the Take 12 Trivia, and for those of you who are joining us on Bill Post Radio Network, we do this every Wednesday, and it's usually useless trivia. We have 3 questions and a bonus, and here is your first question. What did the Apollo 8 astronauts use to fasten down tools during weightlessness on their 1968 moon orbiting voyage? What did they use to fasten down the tools? Here are your choices. A, silly putty, B, Elmer's wood glue, or C, rubber bands.
Silly putty.
Silly putty. Eve says silly putty. Nathan?
Rubber bands.
Rubber bands. Eve is correct.
I
knew
it.
Silly
license and registration.
It kind of helps when your dad worked as a contamination control expert for NASA. Since the beginning of the space program. Yeah.
Wow.
I had an inside track to some of this information.
Can we talk about Area 51?
No, nobody talks about Area 51.
Here's trivia question number 2. In a deck of playing cards, the King of Hearts is the only king without and here is your choices. Without a mustache, without a sash, or without 2 eyes. Has only 1 eye.
Without a mustache.
Nathan?
I know about the one-eyed Jack.
Yeah, that's...
I bet there's I'm going to go with the old one-eyed King thing.
One-eyed King? Well, Eve, you're correct again. It is a mustache.
Man, she is on fire.
Looks good on you, though.
Yeah, see, I just got back from Reno, so...
She's just been lighting me up.
By the way, if those of you out there wondering what this has to do with recovery, it's because we have fun in recovery.
That's right.
And if you're not having fun, we're going to make you have fun.
We're not a glum lot.
That's right. Okay, trivia question number 3. There are approximately 10 million of these in the Empire State Building. Here are your choices. A, cracks. B, bricks. C, screws.
Cracks.
Bricks.
Eve, you are just on a roll.
You're a very ill-mannered young man.
It is bricks.
Man.
Nathan, what are we going to do with you, man?
I don't know.
Let's see if you can get at least one right here, Nathan. Here's your bonus question. The 5 most stolen items in the average drugstore are batteries, cosmetics, film, sunglasses, and here are your choices. A, toothpaste. B, chewing gum. C, preparation H. Now, remember what you said last week about trivia, Nathan.
Chewing gum.
The weirdest thing is always the answer with the weird creator behind this. What were the 3 choices?
Toothpaste, chewing gum, preparation H.
It's got to be preparation H.
Nathan is correct. It is preparation H. Yes, but...
Wow, there's a lot of hemorrhoids out there.
Yes, there is.
Emmys, here's an interesting fact. Do you know what the main active ingredient in hemorrhoidal cream is?
What?
Shark oil.
Shark oil.
You know what? Right. And women use it around their eyes to cut down on the puffiness around their eyes, too.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it true?
It shrinks, yeah.
Isn't it true that, like, baby powder is actually made up of ground coral?
That's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Well, chelated calcium is from ground seashells.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're taking it, don't bother because your body's not absorbing it. We weren't meant to absorb or utilize ground seashells. Yeah, chelation means that they've done something so that it forces your body to take it. And my opinion on that is that it's carcinogenic. But that's a whole nother topic.
Yes, carcinogenics.
Gambling Eve and her topics.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Check it out.
All righty.
You know you're embarrassing me. That's what you're doing.
Yep. And that does it for Take 12 Trivia for this week. All right, coming up, cartoon caption contest, I do believe. Yes, indeed.
And now it's time to announce the winner of this month's cartoon caption contest.
And the winner is... Diana Taylor is our winner, and she's actually our winner for May. We were a little late in announcing May's winner. June's cartoon will be up here shortly. Diana, the cartoon is a picture. If you go to take2radio.com, click on Recovery Cartoons, you can see it. The cartoon is a room with empty chairs. The 12 steps and 12 traditions are on the wall. It's like a meeting with nobody there yet. But there are 3 little mice at the base of the page looking at all the chairs. And her caption says, "We told you to lay off those port wine cheese balls." That is Diana Taylor. Congratulations, Diana Taylor. You are now the recipient of a DVD, the live DVD, Addiction, A Comedy of Substance by Mark Lundholm, and a bonus CD called How Is That Funny? And so, Diana, you sent us your email, but you didn't send us our mailing address, so we'll be contacting you about that. Yes, indeed. So that's it for this last month's cartoon caption contest. Okay, we're going to listen to the sponsors for the next part of the show, and then the topic, the pot position, when we return.
Treatment does not have to be voluntary to be effective. Sanctions and enticements from family, employment settings, and or the criminal justice system can significantly increase treatment entry, retention rates, and the ultimate success of drug treatment interventions. Freedom Interventions provides the direction necessary to get the help of an addiction intervention. We assist with selecting a treatment experience appropriate for the unique needs of your addicted loved one and provide 6 months of ongoing support to ensure success for everyone involved in the transition into real life. If you know someone who needs a life-saving intervention, visit freedominterventions.com or call 888-762-7557. That's 888-762-7557. Freedom Interventions, providing drug and alcohol interventions and a continuum of care services to clients and their families.
All right, and we have returned. And by the way, Freedom Interventions, for those of you listening on BillPost.com, is located out of McMinnville, Oregon. So if you think you may need the services of one of the most renowned interventionists in the country, and Mr. Matt Brown, please go to freedominterventions.com. Tell him that Monty, the Monty Man, sent you. And let me tell you, he'll be able to tell you whether there's an intervention needed or not. He'll be able to give you some good suggestions and some good direction. He really, really will. Okay, this portion of the show is also sponsored by Serenity Springs Recovery Center in Edgewater, Florida. It's a fully licensed all-male residential treatment facility, and they have 10 acres there, a spiritual sanctuary fostered through an intensive 12-step foundation of recovery. Limited enrollment provides a staff-to-client ratio of 1-2. So no one can get lost in the shuffle as in many large treatment centers. This arrangement provides clients privacy, yet enables supportive interaction. They are a unique facility that is committed to providing exceptional individual care in small group settings while utilizing their experienced and dedicated clinical and support staff of licensed therapists and doctors. Serenity Springs Recovery.com. Check them out, sponsoring this part of our show. Okay. See if you remember. I don't know if Nathan will remember this. You may remember this, Eve. See if you remember. This is just a sound clip from a film that we watched, many of us in high school, back in the day.
Weed, grass, ganja, joint, doobie, do, chronic, ace, lobo, loco, love boat, bud, Buddha, blunt, pot, pat, pin, chiba, 420, and hashish, or hash for short.
You recognize that?
Up in Smoke?
No, that was an educational video called The Blunt Truth.
The Blunt Truth. Somebody had fun with puns with that one, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was considered a scare tactic back in our high school days.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was the gateway drug.
Yeah.
And you know what? Here it is 30, 40 years later. It's still the gateway drug.
It's still the gateway drug. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, and in the film, there's all sorts of things like, your hair will fall out and you'll probably jump out of a third-story window. And there was some.
It always ended with a needle in your arm, heroin.
Right.
I mean, how many of us from the 60s and 70s were scared to death of the heroin thing because that was so drilled into us with those films, the heroin stuff.
Right.
I know I was never an IV user because of, for some reason that sunk in and stuck with me. I smoked heroin. I snorted it if at all possible. But did I put it in my arm? No. I'm not going to stoop to that low.
Oh, yeah, right. Right. The delivery system makes all the difference. Yeah. I hear you. So, Nathan, when you were in school, was there any education around marijuana, good, bad, indifferent?
Same.
Oh, really?
Same kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that even today they use a lot of scare tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I always found interesting about this was my friends who took the pot position of pro-pot would always say, "Oh, they're just trying to scare us. They're just trying to scare us." And I'm like, "Well, look at these investigators, these doctors, these scientists that came up with the information about marijuana back then. Half of them were smoking pot too. They weren't trying. They were just educators. They were just So I don't know. I think it was probably driven more by the parental movement, and parents were scared. But today, pot's still very popular, very popular.
And extremely more potent.
And extremely more potent than in the past. And there's a lot of controversy around this. Now, we live in the state of Oregon, where it is not yet. Is it legal to buy marijuana for recreational purposes? I think it's coming. I think it's inevitable. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen in most of your blue states. And I just think it is. And I think we need to be prepared for that. And what are we going to do? So, but here's the deal. One of your guys is taking it. Let's talk about medical marijuana first. Let's not talk about recreational use.
All right.
To start out with. What are your takes on the medical marijuana issue? Who wants to start?
I will. I'm very pro for medical marijuana for certain types of things. I think those green cards are handed out much too easily. Only because as a drug and alcohol counselor, I've had so many patients that it didn't take them much. We're talking about 18, 19-year-olds that were able to get green cards just because they complained of pain. And so they're handed out very easily at pain clinics or doctors that will do that. And so I balk at that. But let's say somebody's got cancer or has chronic pain and it's affecting their quality of life, then I am pro for that. So I just think that they need to, maybe get more strict with the people that are prescribing.
So your issue with it is the way it is made available.
Yeah, it's just too easy to get a green card.
Yeah. Nathan, what about you?
I think she nailed it on the head. I mean, if you was to just look at medical standards, all of the pain pills, all the Vicodins and Oxycontins, the damage it does over long-term use versus the damage marijuana does. But I think for me, it's the only thing is it's an illegal substance and it's an issue. But all these things that get prescribed, in my opinion, are the same or worse.
That's true.
So I don't know why it's even getting separated. Because for a treatment, if we're going to treat people for chronic pain, we're going to treat people for cancer, loss of appetite, or whatever the heck it may be.
Yeah, the loss of appetite, it's a double good thing on that. You're right.
Then I think it's a great medicine tool. But the problem is guys like me, we get that stuff in our system and the allergy happens and we abuse it, Yeah. So that's the crosshair to it. But
okay, so what about because this is a show about recovery and our network is all about addiction, one type or another. So what about the addict, not the drug abuser, but the addict who has cancer? And I mean, it's so serious that, pain medication, like opiate-based pain medication, which we all know is real dirty. That's a dirty drug. Dirty
brain
drug.
smasher.
Is really off the table. What do we do with the person who, if they're smoking pot, is off to the races again too?
it's a self-choice, just like I'm staying sober today. It's because I'm staying sober. So, I mean, I get it, but I'm not into, everybody's kind of free will. And the reason I'm in recovery is because I choose to be in recovery for myself, and I get but if I have cancer and I'm miserable, I could replace it with anything. Mm-hmm. So, I would rather it be if it was applicable and it was the thing, if no other, let's say I broke all my legs and I'm miserable, and they say, and I'm just laying in bed moaning in pain, mm-hmm. and they say weed, pills, what are you going to do? I mean, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try something. I'm going to trust doctors. I'm going to scream I'm an addict. I'm going to scream for it to be monitored and talk to my people, and I'm going to try to do what I got to do, but that's what it's for.
I couldn't agree with you more, because there are no other options for pain that aren't addictive. That's just the way that it is, at least for extreme pain. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's things at the lower end that aren't addictive, but they're not for bad pain. And
We're not chronic.
And the thing about us being addicts is that we have a low tolerance to pain because our bodies are so used to taking large amounts.
Right.
So it doesn't take long for us to zoom up into the higher levels of need to address the same issue of pain, because the disease progresses, and so we end up going to the same place, and of course, we're dealing with just taking away the pain, but I love the accountability. That is the difference. The doctors, you stay accountable with the doctors, you stay honest with your sponsor and with the support system, and you just keep talking about it. That to me is the only way. Of course, the allergy is going to be triggered.
It's going to mess with your
head. It's going to mess with your head, but talk about it with your accountability group. You say, I take one, I want two, and it's like, don't keep it a secret. Bring it out into the light.
Okay. Here's my problem.
Seen this coming.
I did too, which is fine.
Yeah.
He's the conservative.
The over-opinionated.
Yeah. Actually, you might be surprised to know that I do believe that cannabis has medicinal properties. I think it's been proven. I think it's well established. Just like any drug or narcotic where that has been well established. I mean, there are medicinal purpose with opiate-based pain medication.
With cocaine.
I don't think there's any medical benefit to hemlock, but I know, and by the way, just because something's natural and grows in the ground doesn't mean you put it in your mouth. I mean, get real. So people that say that, man, that's just ludicrous. But
God wouldn't grow it on the ground.
Oh yeah. Well, they didn't. You don't eat poison ivy either. So, but I do understand that there is a medical component. There is a therapeutic medically legitimacy to this. I think fellow conservatives that don't want to admit that, they either haven't done the investigation or they're so stuck in it's pot that they can't see the forest through the trees. And I am not a liberal-minded man, but I will tell you when it comes to this, and one of the reasons is because I've experienced the hell of opiate-based pain medication.
Yep, you and me both.
And if I ever have to be treated with pain management, I will go the direction of marijuana in a flash. Opiates are off the table. Not happening.
Yeah.
Not happening. Here's the thing, and some of you are going to get ticked off about this, especially if you're listening on our new network, but that we're with. But when it comes to addicts, if we don't manage our pain, we're going to end up using something that will. So if it's not regulated properly, if we're not accountable, so that's very dangerous. But I got to tell you, we will eventually use something that will, because when it comes to chronic pain, it can become so unbearable that The only other alternative is to take your life.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that haven't had that chronic pain. Now, there are people out there listening right now that have gone through some tremendous pain and said, you know what, I didn't take anything.
Yeah.
So why should I be in favor of that? I didn't take anything. Well, good for you.
Well, being in tremendous pain for, an acute issue,
right?
That's different from chronic.
From chronic, you bet.
And you and I both know that. And but I will say, as somebody who suffers from chronic pain, that you do develop over time a tolerance to pain. It's pretty amazing. I was, once I got off those opiates, and after about 6 months passed, and I developed a positive attitude in a no matter what, I'm not taking those pain pills anymore. This kind of shift in my thinking, if anybody asked me, are you in pain right now? I'd have to think about it. And it was like, yeah, I feel pain here, here, here. But it was just off of my radar. It was like it went to the place in my brain that was like further back, because I had that kind of no matter what. Before, I would even have psychosomatic pain to get pain pills. It was interesting. I mean, I'd have this massive headache, something would be wrong, I'd be getting, and I'd get the prescription, and as soon as it was in my hand, the pain went away.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's not unlike the person that knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's about ready to score.
Yes.
How, here's proof of that. The deal for the dope doesn't come through. I'm talking about the meth or the coke.
Yeah.
It doesn't come through. What happens? The anxiety level raises like crazy.
Yeah.
So that is very real. Now, I told you that I have a problem with this. And let me tell you what my problem is. My problem is dispensaries. Here's the deal. Why? If this is a legitimate medication, now I'm talking to you people out there that believe this is a legitimate medication for people in chronic pain. If that is the case, then why in the world are we opening up dispensaries specifically for marijuana? Why aren't these included in the pharmacies along with all the other drugs?
Yes. There's a place actually on the coast that I saw. It was called Cannabis Connection. I mean, I rubbernecked when I saw that. I thought, what?
It's money?
It's money.
But don't you think, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a minute, don't you think that if we include it in the pharmaceutical companies, that's about money too?
It needs to be treated as medicine, that's correct.
But I see, you're right, Monty. It's like, okay, so then it does become a pharmaceutical where it is through the drug companies. Then you're right. Then that's more a big pharma.
You betcha.
Getting their hands on something where, it just gets so ugly. Everything just gets so ugly politically. And
I think I want to speak for all of us right here for the listeners. I believe one of the things we do stand on, is it a good idea for a recovering addict to take pain pills? Negative. But there's a point where it has to be.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's a point. Look, I introduce anything like that altering in my system, it's eventually going to get me. So, I mean, it's a scary deal. It's a life or death pig. So, if I got a little sore shoulder, am I going to go pop Vicodins? Absolutely not. And then, it all comes down to, I struggle with being governed.
Right.
I struggle with giving the power. I don't believe in the damn medical system very much right now. And so I struggle with giving them the power. Now, I think you can't. I think a lot of it has to do with we're in America. We choose our destiny. We're able to do things, and I know what could be legal, what could be not be legal. But you put marijuana and alcohol. The only difference between the two is the government accepted it because it's a moneymaker, in my opinion, and they found a way to make it. But there's no difference. Right now, one's illegal, one's legal, and so all of this talk about it to me is just. I start to cringe a little bit because I start to see the political agendas. And
I think there's a political agenda on both sides, to tell you the truth. And we'll talk about the recreational use here in just a second, where I think that comes into play a lot. So again, maybe there is a legitimate reason or legitimate motivation behind some people's desire to keep it out of big pharma. I get that. I do. Because once we go there, then we're there, and that's just the way it's going to be, and it's never going to be regulated any other way than big pharma and money and everything. But if you think for 1 minute, if any of us thinks that people at marijuana dispensaries aren't in it for the money as well, you are blind.
Right.
It is a huge money-making proposition.
Yeah, it's good income.
So if we're going to say, all things that are about making money are bad, we're blind too. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with owning a business and making money from that business. I mean, that's the American dream. We have a problem with, the American dream includes opening a pot dispensary and making money from that. I understand why we have an issue with that. I do. But I've got mixed emotions here, and I don't know that there's a real easy answer. Mm-hmm. I do know, though, I do believe 100% that there is a legitimate reason for medical marijuana, but it is the way it's regulated, it's the way it's dispensed, and it is way too easy in the states where you can do that for just anybody to, and some people it's not easy. But there's other people that they just, hey doc, I've got some lower back pain, okay, here's a card. And we're talking about doctors. The average family doctor gets less than 10 hours in his entire medical career on addiction. And I've talked to many doctors. I've talked to the head of the medical facility at Hazelden. I've talked to all these guys, and they tell me the same thing. Less than 10, sometimes less than 5 hours in their whole medical career.
I got a buddy that's a pharmacist in recovery that had a little trouble, and I've done a lot of talking with him. And I guess it's a big movement now among the pharmaceutical board where they're starting to do a little bit of education.
And most pharmacists know more about medications than even the doctors do. Mm-hmm. That I have found. And so can we really depend on the doctors to make the right judgments? I mean, I had a doctor that would write scripts for anything.
I would tell him what to write the script for.
Oh, you betcha. You betcha.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't run into him until after I was in recovery. I don't know why I didn't run into him before.
I think, I honestly believe the only tool that we have or the government has on being is education, because being an alcoholic addict, you tell me I ain't going to get something, dude, I'll chew through concrete to get my drug of choice. I don't care what it is. So it doesn't matter if it's legal, not legal. None of that stuff even really matters. I think the only weapon we have is maybe a little bit of prayer and a little bit of education to the people that have to use it.
Mm-hmm. There's also, I know a lady that is an active member in a 12-step fellowship who has cancer, is in severe pain, and she takes marijuana drops.
Yes.
So, she prefers not to smoke it.
Yeah, because that would trigger that whole ritual thing. So she's wise in
she's wise in doing it.
Another way of.
So let me ask you this: what about the people? Let's put the conservative viewpoint aside for a minute, and let's talk about the people in the 12-step rooms. What about the people who say, well, you're not really sober if you are using marijuana for medical purposes?
That's a tough one.
I'd say knock off taking somebody else's inventory.
Don't you think that's a load of BS?
Right.
I do.
Because I know people that do that their whole lives have changed.
Yes.
They've stopped drinking, they've stopped doing this, and they have a medical reason. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that the majority, people are going to abuse that thought. Mm-hmm. They're going to, I've got a medical reason because the docs will write it up.
Right.
So it's always going to be, but what business is it of mine?
That's right, exactly.
And what their personal story and their recovery is theirs.
Yeah.
And if their life's getting better and they're doing it, and it's not, that's not even in my ballpark to worry about.
That's right.
That's the problem.
And this is when we had the survey a couple of weeks ago. Are you an alcoholic and do you continue to smoke pot and think it's okay? Yes, no, I'm trying to quit. We did have people with the comments that there are people that actually, really hardcore alcoholics, really bad, who have been able to stay off the booze with the aid of marijuana. Mm-hmm. not sure how I feel about that. It doesn't set right with me. But at the same time,
in the bigger picture, it's a harm reduction.
Yeah, and I'm not a real pro harm reduction person completely across the board. But I know there's a place for that too.
Yes, there is.
There's a place for that too. And so, okay, so let's. I think we can all agree here that there is a medical legitimacy for marijuana, but it's the delivery system. It's the way it's handled that's screwed up.
Can I mention something too about marijuana that's new that a lot of people may not be aware of? I think it's close to like 98% of the marijuana out there now is GMO, genetically modified, and so it's even if it wasn't genetically modified, smoking marijuana is 10 times more carcinogenic than nicotine. So there's some negative aspects to marijuana that people aren't aware of. They think because it's natural, well, tobacco's natural too. So, and when you're holding that in your lungs to get the high, to let that THC go through, be uptook into the system through the circulatory system, it's very carcinogenic that way. And a lot of things that have been done, the GMO, and so it makes that like the white crystally stuff or the red threads. That's another sign that it's been, so either they're spraying it or it's been genetically modified in order to increase the THC level. I mean, that stuff didn't just happen naturally.
And
you remember back in the day, there were some marijuana cannabis plants that were higher in THC than others, Acapulco Gold, and Panama Red,
Maui Wowie.
Yeah. And so, and I don't know what was happening, to increase the THC levels, but those were, like right around maybe 10. And now the level of THC in these GMOs is way over 20, sometimes in the lower 30s. I mean, this stuff, one little hit, and you're hallucinating.
That's right. That's what it can almost be labeled as a hallucinogenic.
Well, it is a hallucinogenic. That's how strong it is.
So that changes the picture a little bit too.
So with that in mind, I mean, you can't say that it's not. It's so extremely mood altering and dangerous at times for people.
Sure. So now, from what I understand, THC by itself does not have cancer-causing properties, but it's what's going on with the stuff that is causing it to increase that we have the problems with. So the marijuana of yesteryear that somebody grew in his backyard without any kind of vitamins from Shackley put in the ground, it didn't cause those problems. But today, so people argue, well, THC doesn't cause cancer. Well, it's not the THC we're talking about. It's the genetically altered stuff that you're talking about.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it is, because where I got this information, I mean, it was like 10 or 15 years ago, that became part of the research that had been done. It was because of inhaling it and holding it in your lungs that's.
See, now I read that too. And in fact, I read information that suggested that THC had 5 times the cancer-producing properties in one joint versus a cigarette. And I was corrected by several people that are anti-pot that THC does not. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But, people are right fighters. Yeah. And they're going to make up stuff. They're going to create stuff. They're going to exaggerate. They're going to minimize, depending on what side you're on. Gee whiz.
Well, it could be that my information, I've got that information from 2 different people, a doctor.
But it could be true too. I mean,
yeah.
The right fighters are the ones that are saying that it's not. Well, except for these guys told me that. But
when the right fighters, you mean the right to be able to smoke it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, and let's talk about the recreational use. Because we're about 10 minutes, but I am sorry, but anything that you inhale into your lungs besides clean, pure air is not healthy. So let's knock this thing off. Well, one's less than the other. Oh, come on. oh yeah, okay, we have polluted air. Does that justify it? No. So let's talk about real quick. Let's talk about the recreational use. Let's put the medical side completely aside. And what's your take on that?
When you mentioned this last week, I have a little, I'm going to paint a picture. If I had a box outside my house and I walked up to, there's the only way I could get marijuana, and I walked up to that box at 5:30 or when I got off work, I put my lips and it gave me one hit of weed, and I went inside and was with my family. Would that be, and if that was the only intake I could take to chemicals, would that be healthy for my family? And my answer is yes, because I'm on the floor playing with my kids. I've relaxed. But see, that's not the problem. It doesn't stop there. So with that being said and that thinking, marijuana by itself, in my opinion, no different than alcohol. It's not the problem. Just like we say, I'm the problem. I cannot do that. I mean, if I had a machine, I'd hit it. I'd go inside, and for a week, I'd be on the floor with my kids with a little smile on my face, and things would be great. Next thing you know, I'd be hitting that thing and breaking it open, trying to get it open at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's what I do.
Yeah, pretty soon I wouldn't leave the area.
Yeah, so I mean, with that visualization being said, that's my whole point of view on pot. I mean, it's me. It's me. It's
okay. Well, then that what about the argument of the person that isn't the addict that can do that? Is that okay?
I think so.
Really?
I have no business talking about it.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. I believe that, first of all, if you've got to put a substance into your body to help you relax and what are you depending on? What are you leaning on? Are you leaning on a substance, or are you leaning on your relationship with God? Now, for a person who doesn't believe in God or doesn't have those values, I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it. I don't agree, but I get it. I understand their justification. They're leaning on something else to put in their system to help them relax and all that. And does everybody deserve to relax? Sure. So why not? I get their viewpoint. Here's my problem. I think allowing and permitting another mood, mind-altering substance in the realm of being legal within the human race is stupid and irresponsible. We already have people driving around under the influence of all sorts of stuff. My kids are out there. I don't want somebody driving around under the influence of marijuana because they want to relax. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care. You may not be that person may not be an addict at all. And they're at home. They smoke a little pot. They want to relax. They play with their kids. Oh, now I got to go to the grocery store because I forgot the ice cream. And then you're behind the wheel of your car.
Yes.
You know, it is irresponsible to introduce another mood, mind-altering substance into society and making it legal. I'm sorry, but I don't buy it. And for those people that say, well, I have every right to use it to relax, stuff like that. Well, you know what? Maybe you. What are you doing? If that's the way you're gonna relax and have a good time.
So a person drinking a glass of wine with his wife falls in that same category. If they drink, they're wine drinkers and they drink one glass in the evening when they're eating their dinner with their wife, and that's their whole life.
No,
that's not different.
No, I don't know that that's responsible either. But I mean, we've crossed that. We've gone way too far beyond that. I'm saying introducing yet another one is irresponsible. Probably. We already got alcohol is the number one issue anyway. We already got that problem. But what I'm saying is bringing in yet another one. What are we crazy? And here's the deal. I'll tell you what. If you have a glass of wine with your wife, and you know in an hour you need to get in your car and go get that ice cream. You're going to be under the legal thing. You're going to be focused. It's going to be okay. But if you're smoking pot, an hour goes by and you got to get in your car and go get that ice cream, you are still under the influence. You still do not have the proper perceptions to be driving a vehicle.
That's a pretty good point.
I've got a couple of thoughts, and I'm going to switch this to the Christian perspective.
Okay.
One of the things, the telltale sign of marijuana use, the thing that happens most generically across the line, besides a change in perception and some hallucinations, some change in thinking, maybe some paranoia, which is really common.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing about marijuana is apathy. And so when we think in the terms of spiritually, we do not wrestle with flesh and blood. How the enemy might be using marijuana because of that apathy. What another way to deaden this country's, just to kind of dumb us down in a lot of ways, and make us not really care. And it's a big concern there. The other thing is that we've talked about is the cycle of addiction. As you read about, if you've got the book Alcoholics Anonymous, it's in the doctor's opinion. And Silkworth said, men and women drink primarily for its effect. Okay, so think of this, you can put in marijuana there. And, the fact that we're wanting that ease and comfort. Then once again, if that's what we're doing, whether it's a glass of wine or one hit, as far as being the addict or the alcoholic, it's like we're using that for the effect.
Right. And,
we're not going to God for ease and comfort. We're going to a chemical. So that's my concern. There is, from a Christian perspective, and the way God may see this, because God created marijuana. So there is a medicinal reason. I believe there's a medicinal reason to hemlock. I think that everything that grows on this planet, it may not be discovered yet, but like everything else where these things can be used, like opiates from the poppy, there's a medicinal value to that to ease pain.
Right.
But for me, who has that thinking that gets this allergy kicked off, that's where the big concern is. And then the other people out there who aren't even addicts, who might just be problem users or recreational users, they can't dispute the fact that they're becoming more apathetic, that they, it does affect their operating of machinery, including cars or things at work. There's a lot of people that are referred to treatment centers by their employers because they test positive for pot, because it's known that, there's more accidents that happen.
You betcha.
So, if we don't wrestle against flesh and blood and we step back from this, what is the big picture here?
I just think what we've got here is we've got a legitimate side in the medical end of it that needs to be looked at differently. The priorities need to be addressed differently. And then we've got the whole recreational side that is just based in a lot of right fighters and people demanding their rights to alter their state of consciousness and for the sake of just pleasing themselves. I think it's selfish. I think it's self-centered. And I'm not saying I've not been selfish and self-centered. I'm just saying that, what are we doing? What are we doing? And there's already states that this is legal for recreational use. And I would be really curious in the next 10 years to find out
what the stats are.
Okay, so nobody's died of an overdose of marijuana. Well, there's people that have died in car crashes because people were driving behind the wheel that were stoned. Lots of statistics on that.
It really affected my driving. I know that when I was using marijuana, it was weird driving.
Yeah. I hear you. Well, anyway, okay. So we probably should revisit this at some point. But there you go. Listen, thank you guys so much. Yes. This has been an interesting and a healthy discussion. Bill Post is coming up next. If you are listening on the Bill Post Radio Network, BillPost.com, don't miss out on his show. And if you're listening at Take12Radio.com, check out all of our archives and listen to this. Until next time, we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
I said, no, I don't smoke it no more. I'm tired of waking up on the floor. No, thank you, please, it only makes me sneeze. Then it makes it hard to find the door.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
I'm tired of waking up on the floor. No, thank you, please, it only makes me sneeze. And then it makes it hard to find a door.